Hey, FreeBody community, hip flexor tension and its relationship to lower back pain coming up next. So I received a question on the channel from someone who said, hey, help me understand hip flexors, hip flexor tension, and low back pain. So I'm going to give you the top 3 things you need to know and understand about the hip flexors and their relationship to low back pain. Number 1, sitting. Sitting for too long or just sitting, first of all, that shortens the hip flexors. When you sit in a chair or on the couch with your knees bent, that is shortening your hip flexors. Over time, sitting for long periods of time with your hip flexors shortened is just going to make them go, oh, okay, I guess we're just supposed to stay short. It can activate trigger points in your hip flexors, and it can lead to stickiness and dryness. You ever have that experience where you go to stand up and your back hurts? It's like, oh, maybe that's not a good idea to stand up, right? That's because the hip flexors have to lengthen for you to be able to get up from sitting to standing. If the hip flexors are stuck in there with trigger points and the fascia around them's all sticky, you're gonna have a hard time. So sitting too much can lead to hip flexor tension and lead to lower back pain. So you got to get up, set a timer about every 30-40 minutes, get up, do some movement breaks. I've recorded a bunch of movement break videos, and I have one that's the top 3 movement breaks for people who sit at a desk all the time. I'll link that video in the description for you. So number 2, the psoas. The famous psoas muscle is the largest of those hip flexor muscles. It's the main muscle that draws your knees up to your chest. It has a bunch of other jobs, but specifically for this video, we're just focusing on it as a hip flexor. Now, the psoas, you can see in this picture, it literally grabs your lumbar spine. It attaches all along the vertebra and the discs along your lumbar spine. The number 1 cause of pain, aching up and down your lumbar spine, is trigger points in the psoas muscle. Its pain referral pattern is aching in the lumbar spine. So this is a hip flexor at the front of the spine, but when it gets activated, it grabs on to that low back. So tension in the psoas directly leads to pain in the low back. Number 3, stress. Stress activates tension or activates and triggers some contraction in all of the flexor muscles in your body, which includes the finger flexors, so you can make this, so you can punch your way to freedom, right? Fight or flight is the stress response. So fight or flight, you're going to curl up, you're getting ready so you can punch, so you can kick, so you can run, whatever it is that you need to do to get to safety. Here's the thing, the psoas muscle is the largest of the hip flexors, and it's kind of like our EMT, our first responder in the stress response. Soon as you go into stress response or have a stressful experience or a stressful thought or a worry or a fear or a concern, immediately, it's a biological reaction, the psoas is going to start contracting. It wants you to run or kick to get to safety, or curl up in a ball to protect your internal organs. It's why when we feel really sad or scared, we just want to curl up in a ball. Of course that feels good because our abdominal organs, our viscera are protected in that position. So stress activates tension in all the flexors, but specifically in the psoas muscle, which is the largest of the hip flexors. The psoas grabs the lumbar spine and hangs onto it. Now, if you're sitting all day long and you're experiencing stress because you're sitting for work and you're stressed out, you have a deadline, whatever, you're just sitting there activating tons of tension in your psoas and the other hip flexors, but primarily in the psoas, and that psoas is just going to grab onto that lumbar spine and it's not going to want to give it up. So 3 keys to understanding hip flexors and low back pain: sitting, the psoas muscle, and stress. All of those 3 things correlate to create pain in your lower back. I've made videos on releasing the psoas and its best friend, the iliacus. I'll link those videos below so that you can get to work on relaxing your psoas and softening your iliacus. Those two work together always. You want to release them both at the same time. You're going to get up, you're going to do some movements, and you're going to navigate your stress response by taking some long, slow, deep belly breaths. I made a video about long, deep belly breathing, why belly breathing is so important and how it helps you with low back pain, partly because it's massaging your psoas. So I'll link that video in the description as well. Thanks so much for watching. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you have a question. I'll make a video just for you. This is Kat Matlock here in the Low Back Liberation playlist, and I'll see you next time.